Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Web Boxing 101 podcast, coming to you live from Warriors Edge Boxing Promotions Gym. I want to thank everybody that's listening to me again on this beautiful night, this Thursday. Ready to go to talk about boxing here in El Paso, the Sun City. And I want to say hello to all my friends in Las Cruces, New Mexico, Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua. Un saludo para ellos y un grande abrazo. My friends from Odessa, Texas, and Midland, San Antonio, Albuquerque as well is in the house. A big shout out to them. And thanking everybody for joining us on this podcast, ever-growing podcast, bringing to you the best news for boxing here in the Sun City. And calling it the voice of boxing. That's right, folks. We have a good show for you guys tonight. And before we get started, I want to make a shout out to all the people in Odessa, Texas, the West Texas Knockout Boxing Club, ran by Mr. Agustin Tapia. He's the owner of the gym. Great gentleman, great man to have. And his wonderful staff out of Odessa, head coach Nicole Martinez, boxing club coordinator Gloria Tapia, and our coach Danny Chavez, Rosendo Martinez Jr., Sr., Jay Florence, also known as Mr. Cuate. Everybody out there in Odessa, Texas. Hello, everybody. West Texas Knockout Boxing Club. Well, folks, like I promised, we have another big show of boxing here in El Paso. I'm a little bit under the weather. I do apologize for my voice. But let me tell you something, and let's talk about something very important tonight to start the show. And I want to talk about sportsmanship. How about that sportsmanship? And what I mean by sportsmanship, even though this sport is so brutal and it can be at times so devastating and it can injure people, sportsmanship goes a long way. And let me tell you one thing. What I saw this past weekend in the pro ranks, we got to give credit where it's due. It was going to be Teofimo Lopez, New York's Teofimo Lopez. This sensation is awesome. He dominated gritty fighter Diego Magdaleno. Lopez fought a good fight. He looked outstanding. He looked like he's on his way to stardom, let me tell you. Right? But at the end of the fight, I saw two things that in my taste, in my book, in my opinion, I don't see right. His antics at the end of the fight. Clearly, Magdaleno, if you saw the fight, was down and out. The referee weighs him out. It's over. Lopez approaches and makes a shoving or some type of unsportsmanship conduct or gesture, which I just saw tasteful, my friends. It was absurd. And let me tell you, he's going to get a lot of people against him. And guess what? He made me not a fan of him, even though I recognize the great talent that he has. But stuff like that, guys, in my opinion, just makes the fighter downright dirty. It's not good. I understand, guys, it is a brutal sport, but we always got to have sportsmanship. Now, let me shift gears. That's at the pro ranks. What about at the amateur level? You've probably seen fighters that do that or coaches that do that. Come on, guys. We got to have better sportsmanship. Our coaches that are working so hard in our gyms right now, that's another thing we got to give these kids, those lessons in life on how to be a very good sportsmanship, how to have good manners up in that ring. Also, how to just have good manners up there, guys, and learn how to lose. I know it's hard up there, guys, when they're fighting and they're giving all they got. But look, man, sportsmanship goes a long way because it teaches them how to be best fighters. Not only that, but it teaches them, guys, how to be a better fighter, better citizen, better productive citizen in the future. Just overall a better person. And when I see good sportsmanship, or I've seen fights when the fighter gets knocked out completely, or they get up, or he loses, the other corner goes out, hugs him, tells him, hey, good fight. And we see it in the amateur a lot. That goes a long way. And I hope a lot of LBCs out there starts to promote that as well. You know, when our presidents go out to the gyms, or anybody, right, the coaches, hey, man, you know what, talk to these kids and tell them, it's okay, man, I know you're out there and it hurts to be hit, and you're like in the arena of fight to fight. At the end of it all, guys, it comes down to the safety of our kids, our safety of our fighters, and again, just being a good fighter, being a good loser, a good winner. Good sportsmanship goes a long way. But I just saw that was not tasteful in my book, right? It was down dirty by Lopez doing that. The number two thing that I saw this past weekend in the fights was the ref. What is up with that ref, ladies and gentlemen? Holy mother of God. That ref was no good. In my book, I didn't like it. Even Max Kellerman had mentioned that the Texas refs were not as good. They were, and they have a history of it. Well, I saw that ref. He should have stopped that fight immediately. But again, going back to the safety of our fighters, and in one of my future podcasts, I will have one of the pro refs come into the gym and talk about what it is to ref, what they go through, what are the rules and regulations, because sometimes as fans we see some of the refs, man, they should have stopped the fight. But again, it's human error. What are they watching? What are they seeing? At the end of the game, guys, it's the safety of those fighters. And even in the amateur world, it's the safety of our kids. When do we throw the towel in? When does the ref step in? When do the coaches step in? Hey, when does the president of the LBC step in, or the staff step in? We have some great people out there, guys. Are they being trained properly? Are our refs being trained properly? So, and again, guys, this is what the podcast was all about. I'm going to bring these people in to talk about what are these refs doing? What are these officials doing? What type of training do they have? But yeah, I mean, this last fight, I just saw that. It was not tasteful in my book. The ref should have stopped the fight. Magdaleno was down and out. He was seriously injured. And I just saw, I was scared for that guy, man. That was pretty brutal. And Magdaleno went down ugly, and then to Lopez to come back and do that was untasteful. So the ref could have stopped that a long time ago. So folks, that's how I start the show. That sportsmanship was not there. I found it up just wrong. Okay, so that's me. That's my opinion. That's what this boxing podcast is all about. If you like to comment, go ahead and comment on our YouTube page and comment, and let's just talk about what do you think. And also, folks, I want to tell you, comment about what you want to see upcoming. What do you want me to talk about? Who do you want me to interview? Let's put them on the hot seat, on the barber's chair that I like to call here at the boxing gym, right? In the barber's chair. Let's put them in there, and we'll have some questions answered. And I hope today, guys, we're going to answer a lot of questions, because we need to answer a lot of questions about our local LBCs and other LBCs around the area. If you have any questions, guys, in the future, or if you want to come on board so we can listen to you guys. And also, I think the key word here is being transparent, being clear. Where are our funds, our fees going? What is happening in their world behind the scenes? It's so important. So that's what it's all about. Well, without further ado, guys, let me introduce to you our guest of honor tonight. And I promise you it's going to be a big show. And throughout the podcast, guys, guess what? I'm going to be giving away a family pack of tickets for Golden Gloves. 5 tickets. Family pack of tickets for Golden Gloves. A little bit later down at the end of the show, I'll be giving to you, be the 5th caller. I'll give you the number to call, and you can win 5 tickets for Golden Gloves. And that's what I'm going to be doing on future podcasts as well, giving away stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing down the road in the podcast. Well, folks, let's get started here with our questions to our guest of honor. He is a former U.S. Marine veteran, El Paso native. He had an impressive amateur career, boxer himself, with 92 fights. That's a lot of fights. And he's a UTEP graduate with his master's degree. He's also a local business owner. Folks, let me introduce to you, he's the president of the local boxing commission. The president, Mr. Hector Espinosa. Hector, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Tria. Thank you for inviting me down here and to answer some of the questions that have been posted by some of our LBC members. And I'm very honored to be here. And I want to thank everybody that's listening to this podcast, because this is a very great start to increase boxing here in El Paso. Because you know what's unfortunate is that we say, or everybody says, well, El Paso is a boxing city. You know one thing, it's regretfully, it's not, because we don't have a lot of support, you know, from the businesses of the city. And you see, I commend all the coaches out there in our LBCs. You know, they're taking their time, volunteering, and going out there, showing the kids how to box. You know, and also the officials. You know, you cannot talk about any LBC without the officials, and of course the kids that go out there and do their stuff up there in the ring. So thank you, Tree. I appreciate it. that you have started this, and hopefully this is going to start up an explosion of support for amateur boxing. And honestly, we have a lot of good amateur boxers here in El Paso that have won national titles and stuff, and it's recently, not in the old days. Okay, we're talking about recent. We got Mr. Terry Green, we got Moses Rodriguez, we got Ivy, one of your guests that you had, and of course 6-7-time national champion Kayla Gomez. So we have a lot of real good boxers here, and other boxers that are getting ready to go up to that level. So thank you, Tree, for starting this podcast, and hey, I'm ready for the questions.
Good, man. And you mentioned one thing real quick before we get started for those 10 questions. You mentioned the kids, kudos for those kids, because you would agree with me that it takes a lot of guts for a kid to get up there and fight, right? We're not talking T-Ball, he's going to have his teammates, or basketball, and I'm not putting down any sport, but boxing is so special because it takes a lot of guts for these kids to get up there. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, definitely. Boxing is a sport that it's a sport of one. Of course, you have your team behind you, your parents. I'm not talking about kids, and you got your coaches, that back you up, that teach you how to fight, and your parents that look at how you eat and also what you do. So and to get up there, into the boxing ring and go one-on-one. Not just everybody does it. Not just everybody has the courage and the tenacity to do that. So boxing is a sport that, hey, you know what? You face your fears, and it helps you develop the character. And just one of the things that you were saying about sportsmanship is very important. As coaches out there, that's one of the things that we need to make sure our kids understand that, hey, one thing up there is you go out there and you test yourself, but once that fight is done, hey, you know what? You got to be a good citizen, and hey, you got to be friends. Of course, there's going to be, like anything else, there's going to be different ideas and stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to give the respect to any boxer who goes out there and challenges himself in the ring.
Did you see the fight? The pro fight with Lopez?
No, I didn't because I was doing some stuff. But yes, I heard about it. I mean, that kid, Teofilo Lopez, he's awesome. No doubt about it.
He's New York's
yes.
prime rib. He's good, man.
He's good. And I mean, I think he's gonna go far. But like you said, you can't be doing those antics.
Yeah,
you just can't.
And you know what? I have kids in boxing, and I know. It's devastating when you see one of your fighters get hurt because, hey, look, guys, I mean, they're getting hit in the head. I mean, yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard to see your kid that you're coaching, your loved one, especially your own kid, get knocked down.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the amateur or pro ranks, it's hard. So to add that stuff for me, I've always been against something like that. You know what? Be a good sportsman. I mean, hey, man, you've probably seen fighters. Do you remember the fight Canelo against James Kirkland?
Yes.
Or Josecito Lopez? I don't know which one it was. And Canelo's done it a couple of times. Hey, brutal knockout. Mm-hmm. Man, stunning knockout. What does Canelo do? Gets on his knees right next to him, making sure. I know there's rules. Hey, you got to go to the corner. You're done. Give the doctor space to work. Yes. But all of a sudden, you see that sportsmanship. Again, I've seen Canelo do that. He goes up to the fighters, or, hey, man, are you all right? He wants to make sure he's concerned for the fighters.
Yes.
And that, you know what? That speaks volumes. I'm not a big Canelo fan, but when I start seeing stuff like that, man, that speaks volumes of the person.
Yes,
regardless of what he does. That right there, man, he cares for the fighters. Hey, man, look, I'm there. I'm showing concern. Sportsmanship goes a long way. This kid Lopez is just starting. And you know what? I mean, if he keeps doing that, he's going to lose a lot of fan base. But let's recognize that he is a good fighter, like you said.
Yes, and you see the thing about it is that that's a reflection on their coaches. Okay, so that's why it's so important as coaches. And I know it's a hard job because I do it myself. And I know you volunteer your time. But you got to teach them not just how to defend yourself and how to attack in the ring, but once you're off the fight is done, you got to teach your pugilist to turn off that switch. Turn off that switch and turn it into a good person. Hey, you know what? Good job. Even if you lose, you know what? Hey, there's only one boxer that has gone undefeated in the amateurs and the pro. And no, it's not Mayweather. It's Finito Lopez. That's the only boxer that has not lost a fight. So, and he was a gentleman, you know, and he's also a scholar, very smart person. But again, you know what? You as coaches, guess what? You are an example. You are a teacher to all these future world champions, you know, and yes, we have to take the responsibility. And if you're not willing as a coach, as an official, as a board member, you're not willing to take their responsibility, then guess what? You don't belong in this sport or any other sport. That's my opinion.
Wow, yeah, wow, you man, you hit the nail in the head right there, saying about that sportsmanship and even bringing the lights of Finito Lopez, man. What an awesome fighter he was. But yeah, you know what? It goes a long way to being a coach, right? And showing your fighters how to be a good coach, man. Now, so let me ask you: Do you in the amateurs or in the LBC? I'm sorry, in tournaments and the Golden Gloves, whatever. Do you guys have clinics for the coaches on how to be proper coaching, or are they doing that, or it's not required, or if so, what are we doing with that?
Well, you see, at the U.S. Boxing level, there is a code of conduct that every coach signs. Okay, and plus, when you're doing your registration, you have that. When you sign off and you're saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to be a volunteer," you're signing off on the code of conduct. But now, you yourself, as a professional, even though you're not a professional, but you must have the same professionality as any other professional, and find out what is it that you can and cannot do. Because again, and like the rule says, okay, the code of conduct, any bad action that you do is going to reflect with you as boxing, and again, it's a reflection of your whole LBC, and you should take responsibility and teach your kids correctly. But yes, there is on the coaches clinic, there is a section that tells you how you're supposed to be acting in any event.
Oh, okay, good. I mean, then that's good. For those of you who didn't know, there is something out there for them, that your kids are safe with these coaches. Hector, how long have you been the president of the local boxing commission?
Okay, as right now, this is my 4th year as being a president. I was elected by the coaches in 2016, actually, well, at the end of 2015, but my tenure started January the 1st of 2016.
Can you tell me a little bit about the chain of command?
Yes, the chain of command. Well, as you know, I'm the president. We have the vice president, which is Mr. Joe Rodriguez. Then we have the registration chairman, which is Mr. Herman Adams, and he's also a past president of the LBC, and he's one of my mentors. And then we have our treasurer, Mr. Frank Guerrero. He's our coach out there in Alpine. We have our secretary, which is Ms. Vero Rodriguez. So that's basically the structure of our board. Of
the local boxing commission.
Yes,
so
yes.
It's different than Golden Gloves, correct?
Yes, yes. Golden Gloves. That's basically Mr. Adams and Mr. Vicencio. I believe Mr. Vicencio is a franchise owner, okay. And Mr. Adams is the president of Golden Gloves.
Okay, good, and it's good to know, man. In your tenure, Mr. Espinosa, what have you done that you are most proud of as in your tenure as president?
Well, one of the things that I'm most proud of, and this comes out from U.S. Boxing, is that the events in the past administrations, more or less, they would average about 7 to 10 events a year. Now, my board, not just me. It's not just me. It's my board, because they help me a lot, okay, and we do it as a group. We have put the most events that there is. Like, for example, 2016, we started off the year with 14 events, and then 2017 we picked it up to 17, and unfortunately in 2018 we dropped down to 7. Now, the reason why, okay, and I'm pretty sure that was going to be your question, is that unfortunately we lost a great asset, which is our doctor, Dr. Nathaniel Griffith. Okay, we lost his help because you got to remember, the doctors are also volunteer that help us out. Okay, so I mean, and talking to him, he stopped helping us because his father got sick, and a lot of people saw his father there with him in our events.
Yeah, I would see him.
Yeah, Mr. Griffith. And, you know, he was there, always was, very cordial man, very happy to always be there and watch the fights. You know, unfortunately, a few months ago, he passed away. And also the other reason is that his business started growing more. He started getting more patients. So he didn't have the time that he had to help us out. So that's one of the reasons why our plummeted half of the events that we were normally had. And plus, I mean, if you really look at it, 7 is still the average of what other administrations had. And again, you know what? I hate to compare administrations because I don't live in the past. You know what happened in the past happened in the past, and I'm more worried about the now.
Well, I mean, and folks, he mentioned some numbers, and let me just repeat them. In 2016 in El Paso, there was 14 events, LBC club events.
Yes.
This is not including the...
No. Well, okay. So now those are the total. Okay.
Okay.
Now, just I'm going to explain a little bit more in detail, okay, what it is. Okay, the first thing is every LBC throughout the nation only has one mandatory event, which is the Junior Olympics regional event.
That's right,
now,
the Junior Olympics.
The other mandatory is, like, for example, here in Texas, we got, since Texas is such a huge state, a lot of people, okay, we have 5 LBCs in just Texas. 5
LBCs.
Yeah, so every 5 years, every LBC has the responsibility of holding the state tournament. Okay, and this year is going to be South Texas, that they're going to hold it in Laredo. And then next year is going to be our LBC.
And so let me stop you, Hector. South Texas is San Antonio,
down
the valley,
Austin,
Austin.
Laredo, yes.
That's a big LBC.
Yes, it is.
And I'm assuming the bigger LBC, the more money.
Oh, definitely. And definitely now, and a very good point that you bring out. Now, it's just looking at and I just picked the 3 big LBCs because West Texas is more or less the same amount that we are as far as numbers and stuff like that. They may be a little bit more, a little bit less. I'm not so sure. I didn't have a time to get a hold of the president, Mr. Sal Trejo, but I did get get a hold of Mr. Joe Ponce from Southwest, and also I talked to the chief official.
Southwest is Dallas-Fort Worth, right?
Yes, Southwest-Fort Worth, and I talked to Alex De Leon, and as a matter of fact, he was one of our officials. But he moved down there. He got married to a Houston young lady, and so now he's over there helping them out. And then I talked to Mr. Mark Loy, which a lot of people, as a matter of fact,
he's a rep. He's a rep, and I just saw him on Showtime.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So I talked to him, and I got all their information. And just, you know what? What's the difference between their LBCs and our LBCs? Okay, very simple. Population. Okay, in our LBC, we have 7 counties, and the biggest city in there is El Paso. So it's about, what, 750,000. That's what we are. The next biggest cities, you know, the small towns like Alpine, which they have maybe 4,000, 5,000, and there's not a lot. You know, so we really don't have that population to really pull a lot of fighters. Now, and I'm just going to give you an example. Just the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, there's 6.8 million people.
Wow.
And then you go to Houston, just the Houston metro area is another 6.8 million people. So now South Texas, and I just counted San Antonio and Austin, that's 4.5 million people. But, you know, and that number, you're missing Corpus, you're missing Laredo, you know, other big cities in that area. So population-wise, we cannot compete. Okay,
with them,
cannot,
of course.
Yeah, of course, we cannot. But I'll tell you one thing, and I'm very proud of this, of my LBC. And you know, this is something that all the coaches out there should feel very proud of. What they're doing is, hey, we got national champions. We got Kayla, and again, we got Mrs. Ivy. We got Moses. Okay, we got Terry Green. So we have a lot of kids up and coming, and plus, you know, we got George Tovar. that made it to the finals of national. Then we got Victor Aranda, and he came out, he's a silver medalist in the nationals. So there is a lot of talent here in El Paso, and I'm pretty sure if everybody would work together and start to push boxing, we would get even better.
And when you mention work together, we got to sell the amateur program more, right?
Yes, definitely.
We gotta. I guess it's safe to say that we all gotta put our part.
Yes.
To help the LBC. And we just don't want to just sit down and hey, president, do all the work for us. We also got to go out there and sell ourselves and promote ourselves as gym owners, as coaches, and promote El Paso, promote our gyms as well, our fighters as well. Well, you mentioned on the numbers. Of course, our numbers are going to be different than other cities because of the population, etc. But if you saw what Mr. Espinosa said, it's been dwindling. In 2018, he said we had 7 events, and then in 2018 we had 2 events. And this is what I'm going to tell you next, guys. Why do you think that's the case, Mr. Espinosa? Is it the venue? We talked about people not promoting it. We said the physicians. Man, we have so many physicians here. So tell us why it's been dwindling down.
Okay, 3 factors. There are 3 factors why it's dwindling down. Like I explained, we lost our doctor that on a call. So he would help us out.
How do you promote doctors to come into the? How can we entice a doctor to help in our fights? Now, folks, if you're not aware of this, without a physician on board, and I'm not talking about a physician's assistance, and I'll take note, ladies and gentlemen, that this comes down from Colorado. Mr. Hector Espinosa on the board does not make the rules. They have to abide by the rules by a bigger governing entity called USA Boxing in Colorado, and we need a physician. Without a physician, we don't have a fight. And good example, we would have had fights last Saturday. No physician. We had the venue, no physician. So without the physician, ladies, we cannot have fights. Remember, I talked about our kids being safe. We need a physician there, ready to go. Knock on wood, right? But we need them there. So a lot of times, guys, these doctors volunteer their times. A lot of the times we can pay them. We need a solution to this. If you know doctors, they need to help, man. And if they want to help us. So, Mr. Espinosa, what do you think is the answer to get physicians here for us?
The answer is this, okay? And this is what the other LBCs do, okay? And that's one of the things that a lot of our LBC coaches have this misconception, is that the LBC is responsible to find location, to find the doctors for the events. No, we're responsible for the events we put on, because again, every single LBC has the same mandatory event, which is only one, as I was saying, the Junior Olympic, the regional one. Okay, now, just look at Southwest events. They average 35 events a year. And 35 events a year. And now, also the same thing with golf. And South Texas has 65 events a year. Okay, now, the big difference is that, for example, in Southwest, in golf, 30 of those events are done by the clubs. And the clubs themselves, they find the location and they find their own doctor. They don't leave it up to the LBC. So there's a difference in our LBCs. And
so the LBC is not required?
No.
Okay, good. And I hope everybody heard that. The LBC is not required to get the doctor. It's its own person that does the event, that they're responsible to get the physicians.
Yes.
Good. We pointed that out. Go ahead.
And now talking about events, again, the clubs are the ones that make most of the events, because like Southwest, they have 5 events that the LBCs throw. One of them, again, is the mandatory one. The other 4 are third-party events that they have already established year after year after year that they help. But all the other ones, like, for example, South Texas, 60 events are made by the clubs. They do not wait on the LBCs to make events. And that's why a lot of people, well, why doesn't the LBC throw more events? Look, if you look at the numbers, we ourselves put more events than any other LBCs. You know, just the LBC shows. But again, the big difference is that all the other clubs in the other LBCs, they're the ones out there working out there. They're finding their venues. They're finding their doctors. As a matter of fact, in our shows, we provide the gloves, you know, and that's more of a safety thing, you know, that I think it's a good idea, you know. But hey, and the other LBCs, guess what you have to do when you're putting an event? You also have to get your own gloves. Not in every single LBC, but I know for a fact that at least 2 of them, you have to, hey, board chief officials, here's my gloves, and they have to authorize them. So we do a lot of stuff that a lot of LBCs don't do. Unfortunately, you know what? And I'm pretty sure you're aware, because I mean you have a big hand on the Clash of the Titans, the premier show here in El Paso as far as amateur boxing. It's a lot of work.
You know what, Hector? It is a lot of work. A lot of behind the scenes that people don't know. You know, in my last Clash of the Titans, we had 3,800 people for an amateur event. That's a lot of work. We did bring Mikey Garcia.
Yep.
So whether you bring it to that magnitude, guys, or even a small tournament, there's a lot of work, because it's not only the promoter doing the work, it's the doctor, it's the officials. And by the way, the officials don't get paid. And by the way, the refs don't get paid. Mm-hmm. It's just and everybody working together.
Yeah.
So that's why I saw you answered those questions. That's wow. I mean, and I didn't know, Hector, about what USA Boxing governs you and tells you what to do. That it's tough, right?
It is very tough. And now also one of the things, you know, that was that I was concerned, you know, and was that, you know, there's a lot of coaches out there, not a lot of them, but there's a few coaches in our LBC that says, well, the LBC doesn't do enough. Well, one thing was the shows, and I explained to you why the shows are tough. What do you mean by
not enough?
Not enough is that we don't provide stipends for the fighters and stuff to go to nationals and all that. You know, one thing.
A stipend is money for to fund the fighters to go to state.
Yes. And you know, one thing, that's another thing that my board, you know what, that this is the first time that it's been done at Border Association. In 2017, we actually gave away about a little bit over $1,000. And you know, $1,000, I mean, there wasn't a lot, because we gave maybe $125 to this person and to that person, but it totaled about, I'd say, $1,100 to $1,200 now. Okay, and that's because we were busy doing a lot of events. Now, that money comes, okay, from making events and from registrations. Now, you gotta open up your mind and look at the big picture. Now, U.S. Boxing has certain fees that we have that must be paid. Like for athletes, it's $55 of registration. Non-athletes, $75. Sanction, $305, and clubs is $180. Now, our fees for athletes is $62. We only add $7. Non-athlete it's $80, $5, and the sanction we increase it by $100, and the clubs we don't increase nothing. Okay, so now we average more or less around like 240 athletes. So if you multiply just the $7 by the 205, we get about 1,435. As far as coaches goes, you multiply the non-athletes. Okay, that's including the officials. That's times 535, so it's 175. And based on the numbers, and I went to the highest in 2017. You know, just that $100, okay, that we get from the sanctions is $1,700. So it's a total of about $3,310. That's an average what we as an LBC make. Just the fees and registration. Now, we work to pick up the money, and you've seen how we treat our kids when we take them to state. You know, we put them up in nice hotels. We give them nice uniforms. Why? Because we want them to feel proud and feel happy. Hey, you know what? I won the right to represent my LBC in state, and that's why we do it. You know now. And it averages costs us about $55,000 to $6,000. Now, let's look why the other big LBCs are able, okay, to give stipends $400, $500 and stuff. And that's one of the biggest complaints that a small group of coaches are complaining about. Okay, so now let's look at Southwest. Just an example, okay? And I can go to golf, and I can go to South Texas if time permits. But just one example. My good friend over there in Southwest, Mr. Joe Ponce, was very courteous and giving me this information. So they actually charge athletes $80. So that's $25, okay? That's $25 for every athlete that they stay. So now they have a membership of 2,200 members. 2,200 members. And out of those 2,200, 75% of them are athletes, which is 1,650. Now, you multiply that by 25.
Well, how many members do we have? Sorry.
We average about 240,
Okay.
280 at tops. So, I mean, just an athlete, 1,650 athletes. You multiply that by the 25 that they charge on top of the registration, they make $41,250. That's only on athletes. If we as an LBC had that money, we'd be sponsoring every single of our kids that go to the nationals or the Western qualifiers. We would be sponsoring them very, very well. I
agree.
And then now that's just the athletes. But now let's talk the $25 that they increase on their athletes. It's 550 times 25. That's $13,750. A total just on the registration, just registrations, $55,000. Excellent for them, and I'm glad for them. Okay. And I'm very happy that they're able to do that. Nothing wrong with what they're doing, but we cannot compete. So now, we cannot give everybody a stipend. I wish we could. But you know one thing? That's just a hand wheel dealt because we live here in El Paso. That's just Southwest. Now, I can go to golf.
Well, you mentioned we live here in El Paso. So what about El Paso? What about the city of El Paso and the LBC? Why? I mean, you mentioned that we have all these kids. These young adults, they're all competing, and I know all the ones that you mentioned. I know pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Outstanding athletes. Is that we need exposure? What is it? I mean, why you mentioned El Paso? Is it in the culture? Is it in the water? So why is the city not backing up the local boxing commission, Golden Gloves? I mean, why don't we promote it? I mean.
In my opinion, and I think it aligns with Mr. Vicencio's opinion, is that once the city manager thing got here in El Paso, you know what, it got even worse.
Wow.
Now, I give a lot of credit to Mr. Vicencio because Mr. Vicencio did a lot of work when he was working in the city recreational to promote boxing. He did an excellent job.
So we had somebody in there.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing it would change with the city manager, money. I understand the city needs to make money, but you cannot be making money from the kids. You just can't. Like, for example, if we want to make a show, because there's a lot of good venues. I mean, all the gyms that they have and all the recreational centers, we could get those if they could let us use it for free because we're nonprofit.
Okay, so let me stop you there. We used to have them, and he mentioned in the rec centers. Why don't we have them in the rec centers? Because we're going to have Golden Gloves. The event this week will be at the El Paso County Coliseum, but it's at the Judging Arena.
Mm-hmm.
The Judging Arena used to be held, I believe, for state fairs.
Yes.
Hogs, cows. It's not the best of venues, but it's a venue.
Yes.
Nobody's fault. That's what the Coliseum we deal with, and that's what they're going to deal with. Why are we not getting the rec centers? They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And again, when the city manager thing came in, it's all about profit. But
do they charge?
Yeah, they do. They want to charge. I believe the last time that we had a conversation, maybe about $2,500. And anybody that's made an event, okay, besides the big class show, you make maybe $1,000. Man, profit.
And Hector, wouldn't it be awesome? I mean, the rec centers are it's a breeding ground for fighters right now. They're full of kids right now.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a private gym, but these city gyms where I grew up, there's so many kids. Hector, and just to mention everybody, guys, I started boxing when I was real small, and I started out of Lawler's Boxing Club with Coach Chito. I wanted to point that out. And it was a private gym, but yeah, there was a lot of us there. And then I went to Carolina, and that's when I mentioned in one of my episodes, my podcast, that's where I met Junior. But it was a breeding ground for fighters. The rec centers were awesome, man. And why not have them there? Well, Mr. Espinosa just said it. He just charges too much, and it's unfortunate that the city does that to us. Okay, Hector, moving right along.
But let me just say one thing. I do want to thank the Sports Commission, because the Sports Commission has helped us.
Good.
It has helped us a lot. That's why we're holding also our event that's this Saturday there at the Judging Arena. And as a matter of fact, our last JO tournaments have been in the Coliseum.
Yeah,
inside the Coliseum. Yeah. So again,
awesome.
Mr. Kennedy and now Mr. Will Bagley, and at that time it was Mr. Smith. I want to thank him very much, because they do help us. Okay, that's actually the only agency besides the Sheriff's Department that helps us use our venue, because as a matter of fact, on March 30th, that's going to be our next event, besides, of course, the Golden Gloves, which is it is from the Golden Glove franchise. We're going to have another event at the Sheriff's Department Training Center on March the 30th. So again, you know what? If the city of El Paso would put an effort, and now, you know one thing, I thank them for having the boxing program, for letting us go on there. I thank them. But hey, we still pay. Yeah, $10, $15, but you got to think about it.
I think more needs to be done.
Yes.
From the city.
Definitely.
They need to help out the local boxing commission. You mentioned March 30th. We'll be at the Sheriff's Region 8 Training Academy, the Sheriff's Office, hosting that event. And you know what, Hector, we want our law enforcement to be more involved with the future of boxing. Well, I'm still there. I'm gonna help to get to that goal, to help more kids, to host more events. We have a beautiful Regional 8 Training Academy, and the help of people in there that help us do those things. So we want more shows there. So in talking about that in the city and all that, yeah, we want to put them on the table, man. The city needs to step up.
Yes.
So let me ask you, we talked about the venues and the sites and how we struggle to get venues, and there it is. It's all about the mighty dollar, right? So if you have any ideas, folks out there, put your comments in. Other LBCs doing something different, well, we want to hear about them. The future of the LBC. Hector, tell us what the future of the LBC holds. What is coming in 2019 and beyond? Okay,
2019, and like I mentioned, it's my last year as president. We're going to be doing it. We're going to be pushing it hard, again, like we did the first 2 years, and at least have an event every single month. But please participate. Clubs, coaches, you are the future, and boxers, you are the future of the LBCs. The effort you put in to making shows, to helping out. As a matter of fact, and everybody has seen this, and I'm not whining about it, because actually I love it. And all the LBC events, I'm usually the one putting the ring by myself, I'm not complaining or anything. But one thing, be part of it, be involved, throw your own shows. You are the future, because if you do not put the effort in there, guess what? It's going to be the same thing. Well, why doesn't the LBC put shows? No, it's not the LBC's responsibility. Again, it's only one. We push it. We do as many shows as we can, again, to make sure we have the money that we can sponsor our kids to the state tournament. But the future is the coaches and the pugilists out there. You guys are the ones that are going to make it or break it.
Wow. And that, yeah, we are the future. As a gym owner, we are the future. You mentioned one thing. This is going to be your last year. That's news to us. To me, your last year meaning, do you get voted in? Do you get voted out? What? And why is it your last year, Hector?
Well, it's there's elections. Okay, there's elections.
How often are the elections?
The elections is every 4 years, and the ones that voted in are the clubs that have 5 active fighters.
Future.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You guys make the decisions, and then you got your board members that also have a vote. Me myself, the reason why I'm not getting away from boxing, because I'm gonna still be coaching my boxing team. And the reason why is that, before the 4 years, I was also a treasurer. So, I need a little break. And I hope that out there's somebody that'll step up, and step up and and do something and run for it, and hopefully you'll get elected. And all those ideas, because a lot of people say, well, we need to do this, we need to do that. Okay, well, run for it, and then put your ideas to work. And again, I'll be there, and I'll help anybody to push and promote boxing. So I mean, yeah, I don't well, you know what? I've had some coaches tell me, hey, Hector, you need to run again. But again, right now and as of now, you know what? I'm on a rest. I have my little team, boxing every single LBC event, and go to other LBCs and show what El Paso has to show, what El Paso produces.
Wow, there you have it, folks. If you, and Hector, wow, I mean, there you have it, boxing gyms and coaches. If there's anybody out there that wants to run for that presidency of USA Boxing, local boxing commission, step up to the plate. Hector, any last words you want to inform James, coaches, or athletes? Any last words before we end the podcast?
Okay, and we already mentioned this. The future of the LBC is you. As you coaches, as you pugilists out there. You guys need to go out there and do something. Put on events so you can see that it's not an easy. And now also, help you the people that are putting the events out. If you put your name out there, be responsible. And I understand sometimes you get injured or whatever, but don't be pulling out your name. Like one example, you know, and I hate to say this, is one specific club puts in 4 fighters, and they're calling, getting match, and then Frank and Joe do an outstanding job of matching, you know, pre-matching. They match him, and then all of a sudden, the last week, started on Monday, I believe, he dropped one, and then Tuesday another one, and Wednesday another one, and then today I think was another one. So you know, I mean, just it looked to me like it was strategically done, but again, I don't know. But you know what? You are the future. Don't leave your future on somebody else's hands.
Right, and you said it right. I mean, guys, you guys got to get involved. Get involved with our local boxing commission. And Coach Hector, thank you so much. Just stick around, and we'll talk about the big weekend coming up. We also want to give some tickets out, and we're going to give 5 tickets, a family pack for the Golden Gloves, a family pack of 5 tickets for the Golden Gloves. We're giving them away free. Be the 5th caller at 915-216-3789. 915-216-3789 to win 5 tickets for the Golden Gloves. Folks, we had issues with the physicians, the venue, but in all, guys, in my opinion, it's the city that needs to step up. Like before, we used to have our tournaments at the rec centers, breeding grounds for fighters. If you go in and day out, coaches do a magnificent job. It's just awesome out there with them. And we need to bring back the tournaments there. We're bouncing around like a ping pong machine, ball everywhere, all over El Paso, trying to get venues. But we're going to make sure, guys, that doesn't happen this year. I'm going to make my part to get the sheriff's office to participate, and we are, to help kids succeed into boxing, guys. And Mr. Hector Espinosa pinpointed, he answered a lot of questions. And I want to just give another shout out to the gyms. If you want your gym to be announced, everybody from West Texas Knockout Boxing Club, a big shout out to you guys. Thank you for listening and being on board on our podcast. A big shout out to Mr. Agustin Tapia. So now, like we do at every podcast, let's talk about our Saturday night fights. Saturday night in Carson, California, we got title fighter Gervonta Davis fighting in an add-on Mr. Hugo Ruiz for the 12 rounds. And this is going to be for Gervonta Davis's WBA junior lightweight title. And I believe he's back with Mayweather Promotions. I know they had some issues. Also on DAZN, that awesome live stream channel. Live from Indio, California, we have the title fight of Alberto Machado versus Andrew Cancio. And that's going to be for Machado's WBA regular junior lightweight title. And that is going to be on DAZN. We also have another title fight, and that's Ray Vargas on the undercard for the WBC junior featherweight title as he goes up against Franklin Manzanilla. And you know what, folks? Something that I did highlight on that card, if you see DAZN, you have all the undercards. That's pretty awesome. You'll have Adrian Estrella, a 10-round lightweight, against Oscar Duarte. And the reason why this guy stands out, he is Diamante from Monterrey, Mexico. And he fought Chop Chop Corley when we had him here training at the gym, and we went to fight. I helped Chop Chop at the corner. And Adrian Estrella is a good kid. We fought him, and I just wanted to point that out. Also, we have Sunday fights on ESPN Deportes from Fresno, California. It's Jose Ramirez versus Jose Cepeda for Ramirez, WBO junior welterweight. And in the undercard, we have the gritty fighter, veteran fighter, Mr. Raimundo Beltran. Folks, we have a big weekend of fights and our local fights as well. This week, this Saturday, don't forget to join us at Winter Brawl, hosted by Border, at the El Paso County Coliseum, at the Judging Arena this week. Matches are hot right now. Call in to pre-match. Call in the people to get your fighters there at 432-294-2645. Also, we have another fights coming up. The Winter Brawl, all the way from Albuquerque, New Mexico, hosted by Henry's Golden Gloves Gym. The site will be the American Legion Post 13, 1201 Monton Road in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For pre-match or information, call 505-573-1330. And February 21st, Guns and Hoses, Law Enforcement Boxing. They're also accepting non-badge fighters. And the site will be in Lubbock, Texas, Lubbock Country Club. You can call Fred Martin at 432-447-3600. We got some big upcoming amateur fights. Get in tune, get noticed. And like I've always said, guys, with everything you do in life, put God first. But I also want to mention somebody special to me. This is going to be her birthday weekend. I want to wish my wife a happy birthday this weekend. Do you believe in miracles? Well, guess what? I do, because having you in my life, babe, certainly seems like a miracle every single day. I love you, babe, and I love everybody out there, guys. Have a great weekend. This has been our podcast. We will see you next Thursday. I hope you're in tune because it's Valentine's next Thursday. We'll see you next Thursday for more boxing. Fight Freaks, this has been my podcast. Until next time, thank you so much. We'll see you again.